All right, groovy. Oh, and we're on the air. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever the case may be, wherever you are in this bright, wonderful world. This is Blacklist Universe. I am Mike Miller, your host.
Oh, and we're on the air.
And
Good
dang it,
evening,
I
good
forgot to
afternoon, good
freaking
morning,
mute
whatever the
the
case
other.
may be, wherever you are.
There we go. Sorry, boomer tech. I always do that. With me tonight, we're here, pros and cons, talking pros and cons because we are pros and we go to cons. And my first guest is Jim Burleson. He actually runs Albuquerque and Santa Fe Comic Con, correct?
Correct. And I also have a show, Duke City Comic Con, we do in the summertime Albuquerque. So in the world of Wizard World canceling shows, we Albuquerque had 3 summer shows canceled, and I said, all right, well, I'm going to do something about it, and we went ahead and it's this year is going to be our 3rd year in the summer. So Albuquerque is locked up pretty tight.
Rock and roll. How's the weather out there? I'm looking for a new place to live.
Well, it's really cold, but the benefit of it is that we get all 4 seasons. It's nice and chill in the winter. It's nice and warm in the summer. We get some wind in the spring, but no extremes. So if you're looking for a place to live, man, New Mexico, we have open carry laws.
Nice.
We have all kinds of amazing things going on here. So.
All right, and also introducing my old studio mate and occasional convention goer himself, Ken Meyer Jr., painter extraordinaire.
Thanks, Mike. It's interesting to be here already, I can tell. I'm not going to talk any politics.
I can barely hear you, Ken. You sound like you're talking through a squawk box.
Oh, sorry. Do I just?
Oh, there you go. What the hell did you do?
I think I just directed my voice towards the speaker.
Okay.
Darn
it's the technology stuff that always screws me up.
And yeah, for those, I've had Ellis actually on my show a couple times now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we should get you all on here at the same time. It'd be rad. I've been trying to get Ben on, but he's always like, "Oh, I'm working too much, and I'm on the other side of the planet." Blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
isn't he on like the opposite time?
Yeah, hold on a second. As soon as I start, my kid starts banging away on the piano. That's, of course. And the man in black, who you can't see because I have him muted, he's my show rep, John Winter. We call him John. And whenever he gets someplace where we can actually hear him, I'll unmute him. So conventions. I'll just put it out there for me personally. Last year's cons, I was down like across the board by about 50%. So it was painful. You are nodding.
So our numbers are I mean, we're still growing because of our industry. We're always a couple of years behind the rest of the world in New Mexico. However, there's an ongoing trend. All of my promoter friends are dealing with either stagnant numbers or they're dealing with lower numbers, regardless of the size of the guest list. People that have brought in Jason Momoa are still saying, "Hey, we're 10 or 20% down from last year," and it's the effect of saturation. So cons are no longer something that's novelty, driven. It's no longer, "Hey, that's a cool one-time thing we should go check out." Now it's everybody and their best friend are doing a show, and they're asking their mom for extra allowance so that they can go and start an event so they can hang out with movie stars. And what it's doing is it's just saturating the marketplace, and it's putting a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And dealers are selling the same stuff they've been selling for the last 15 years. Celebrities they're more accessible now. You no longer have a William Shatner showing up and people traveling from 6 or 7 states around to see him. Now he's appearing 3 times in the same state. So you're not getting the same excitement about it. And until there's something that develops in the programming of an event that makes it stand out, it's a trend that's going to continue to happen. And I come from a background of cage fighting, believe it or not. I was one of the first fight promoters in the entire world. There's 7 people in the world promoted fights longer than me. And what I found is when I first started, there were 50 shows across the globe, 50 events total nationwide, like globally, throughout the year. When I retired in 2009, there were 50 shows in New Mexico. and we have a state of 2 million people. So what I found out, I mean, everybody sees they see the glamour, and then they want to be a promoter. So what they do, they want to hang out with ring girls, or, in the case of Comic Cons, they want to hang out with movie stars and be cool, and that's what it's all about. So the number of promoters have increased. I mean, off the scope. Like, I mean, it's increased higher than student education, than the loans for the federal government. So, we found an unhappy, the unhappy medium of access to fans is great versus, having it continue to be a novelty. So that's where we're at.
I have a question for you on the subject of celebrities appearing, since you actually handle it.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like you say, there are so many conventions, and I think more and more people know about them. More and more people have gone, so it's not a novelty. One next year, wherever they live, and they've been to them maybe often enough that they know when they get there, if they're going to get a Jason Momoa's autograph, it's going to cost them $75, and they think, "Oh Christ, I can't afford that." I wonder how many people already know that and maybe aren't going because of something like that.
Well, so the industry has received a little bit of bad press with those articles about movie stars walking out of there with trash bags full of cash.
Right.
I remember that.
I never saw that, and I've dumped huge sums of cash on a movie star, and had them walk out. But I promise you, it still fit in a Knight Rider lunchbox. So so what it is that basically people feel like. A lot of fans are now feeling like that they're being played a fool. I hear a lot of times that people are like, "I don't care what you do to me, just make sure nobody knows." Well, in the case where if you buy an autograph, they're feeling like they've been taken advantage of, and I think that's hurting our ability to continue to promote this as a novel idea. So I'm not saying that we're not celebrity driven, but I assure you that a Comic-Con that is full of comic book creators and artists is going to sell all of the 200 tickets of the fans that exist in that 100-mile radius of the people that like comic books. If you are expecting a real crowd, you need to bring in a Jason Momoa. And I keep saying Jason Momoa, he's actually the nicest guy in the world. But so with, people are getting mad. Comic fans are getting mad. Why do you call it a Comic-Con? You only have 7 comic creators on your whole 50 guest list.
Yeah.
Well, because all my dealers expect to sell something, and for them to sell something, I got to bring, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, all with the idea that they're going to get one autograph and then maybe another $30 left over to buy a print and a
Right. Hey, there's about 47 people in here now. Let me do a quick reintroduction of everybody. Beard Guy, as Sierra Whiskey is asking, is Jim Burleson. He is a show promoter and convention owner in New Mexico, Albuquerque, and he runs 3 different shows. Ken Meyer Jr. is a former studio mate of mine. He does San Diego Comic-Con, then he does other shows. They're not Comic-Con, they're magic shows, right?
Magic the Gathering
Tournaments. And then John here, who just showed up, someplace we can see his face, is my he's my toady. He's my lackey. He's the guy I send to shows I can't deal with. Yeah, he's a giant Dr. Mindbender. John, say hey.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be here.
John, why don't you give us your experience year over year, the past 2 years? How's the con season been for you?
Let's see. I started doing it in about I think 16. Only did a few shows with another friend of mine, and that was okay. 2017 was killer. I mean, we had a ton of really great shows. Had a blast, went all over the place, and then this year, beginning like the first half of the year, first few shows started off pretty decent, and then it just started going like downhill. Like, I mean, it was crazy. Like almost all my shows that I did really, really well at seemed to like be down anywhere from 40 to 60% over last year, which is just shocking. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I did whatever I could. I tried to innovate the booth and, you know, make some changes and obviously talk to everybody, do everything I could. But more and more, like the farther into the year, it seemed like less consumers, less people at the show walking around had stuff in their hands. Like, it's not like they were just not buying stuff from me. It was like they weren't spending their money like at all, almost,
Right.
or, you know,
Yeah.
in comparison to last year.
And Jim, that's I mean, he's working for me, so I knew this. This is for the benefit of the fans, but yeah, I had that experience too. It was this great ramp up year over year. It was getting better and better and better until last year, and then this year was just a plummet. So do you think there's anything other than mere oversaturation? Because that saturation's been building, right? So how is it suddenly this year? I have a theory, but I want to know if you have any other than just the oversaturation reason. Do you think there's something more to it?
So in my experience, it's definitely about the competition, about the total number of shows, and then the complacency of the dealer base, and you know what the celebrities are charging more money now. I mean, they went in 2 years, they went from $20 to now $40. So anytime you double a price, like, I mean, when I go buy a Power Rangers autograph and it's $40, and literally 2016 it was $20, you know, it doesn't translate. The number of cons that are raising their prices I mean, now you're paying $70, $80 for a day. We charge $65 for a 3-day pass. You know, you can get a Saturday pass for $30 for Albuquerque, but our people are poor. Like I knew going in that I've got to get, you know, quantity versus quality, and I say quality, quantity versus rich white people. So I get a great number of people that show up that literally save up all year long, and they bring their $60, and they can get one autograph and one other item. And it, you know, so I find that I have to add programming to continue to grow my fan base, because they don't care about the size of the celebrity guest. So I think there's a complacency that's involved in the industry itself. So I don't think there's a global, you know, a financial meaning or anything like that to this. I just think that people have gone to cons now for, you know, several years, and they've got all the cool stuff they want to get.
Yeah. Ken, are you seeing the same trend in the Magic tournaments, or?
Yeah. Well, it's like it's a total different animal. So I'm glad to talk about it. I don't know if I want to take time on your show.
Closer to your mic. Get closer to your mic.
Okay. I don't know if, I mean, the Magic tournaments are a different animal than comic conventions. And for me personally, since I did Magic Art, when I go to these things, I do exponentially better in a comic convention, because I'm not even in, this sounds terrible, I'm not even anywhere near your league, Mike, you know, and so I don't have tons of people coming to me at a comic convention. The attention is so spread out, as all you guys know, beyond comics, into film, into toys, and all that stuff. So anytime anyone asks me about comic conventions, I tell them, well, people are there to get print of Dr. Doom. They don't care who does it, you know, so they're not going to care if I did it or someone else.
Yeah.
But at these Magic tournaments, it's a very directed audience, and they're all after pretty much one thing. They're playing the tournament. But as far as buying stuff, there's only maybe anywhere from 3 to 8 vendors and 5 to maybe 30 artists in a big, huge tournament. So it's a different animal, and I do like it so much better.
So, but you've been doing these for a few years, right?
Yeah, the Magic tournaments I've only been doing for about maybe 6 or 7 years, so not very long.
Okay, but the 17 to 18, have you seen any change? Has it gone up or down?
Not
No
really.
change.
I actually have an average that I do at these shows, these tournaments, and it hardly ever varies.
Really?
Just the tiniest bit from show to show, except for 1 or 2 that are really big. Vegas, they have one in Vegas, they have one in Seattle, or in Portland. Maybe one.
Terrible T in the chat says, time for a new microphone, Ken. Time for a new microphone. Yeah.
I'm about as close to the computer as I can get. Sorry. I can always yell, you know.
So, hey, everybody in the chat, there's 65 of you watching now. If you could please get out there and share and like this and let people know we're doing this little discussion, that would be great to get some more live heads in here. Jim, you want to hear my theory?
Yeah, please. I'd love to hear it.
I think it's not, I mean, I think con oversaturation, con fatigue has something to do with it. I think it's superhero fatigue. I think that, dude, I think, and this may or may not be realistic, I think Avengers kind of broke the wave, man. I think we were building up this wave for the last 15 years. And then when Avengers came out, everyone was just kind of like, we're done. I don't have to care about this anymore. And maybe it was because of how dark it was at the end. I don't know, but it felt like the plummet correlated with that. So I mean, dude, when you go down 50% over a constant growth, and then at the same time that movie, or right after that movie comes, the next freaking every show the last year was down around 50%. I mean, it just seemed so correlated that. And then I've talked to other people about that, and they're like, "Damn, that sounds legit."
Well, no,
You know?
so that's absolutely realistic to consider. But also remember that 50% of the Comic-Con fans were new fans because of the superhero movies.
50?
So
I think it's more like friggin' 90.
Well, 90% of the new cons popping up were based off of those fans. But real Comic-Cons, I mean, because when we started in 2011, Avengers here in Albuquerque, and Sam Jackson and Chris Evans showed up on, and Clark Gregg comes up and he's like, "Hey, I want to come and hang out. Can I get a ticket for tomorrow too?" You know, so they were wandering around the crowd and nobody knew they were even there. So, you know, a year later, they're getting $200,000 for an appearance. They showed up as fans because we were shooting the movie here. But my show grew exponentially. One year it went 40% increase. I had a 40% increase, and and you know, I only spend a couple grand on marketing. So it's you know, I hit every 2 in New Mexico, and they show up to my event. But like I said, we're a couple years back, so we've continued to grow where other shows have fallen. But what'll happen is we're going to lose the fair weather friends, and then the shows that continue to add programming and are diverse enough to continue to build the fans around the industry. Comic books in general are going under. That's the difference between 2017 and 2018, is that the comic book publishers, everything has gone so political. Nobody wants to be a part of it anymore. I don't know how socialism is the way to go. And you know, when he flipped personalities in the Avengers versus X-Men, that was my last comic book. I stopped buying it when he became the Iron Man of the equation. Fans don't want to be preached to; they want to read entertaining books. So, the comic industry is falling, and it's not because there's digital comics available. It's because there's too much fascism hiding in anti-fascism.
Yeah, but as I was saying, like 80%. I always make this argument when we're talking about selling prints and crap like that. I'm like, dude, 95% of the fans walking through these doors have, I say 95 hyperbolically, but they've never bought and will never buy a comic book. They came here to see Chris Hemsworth. They came here to see Doctor Who. They came here for the novelty of the big new comic book, fandom. And
well, you got 10% cosplay too. Don't forget, even though they feel like they're 90%, they're still a 10% cosplay community.
Yeah, but 90% of the cosplayers
they don't buy
bought a comic book.
They don't buy anything, but they participate in the event. So again, if we consider the programming, every plane that I deal with that hasn't bought a comic book say they're coming to check out the cosplay. So it's not like cosplay is a value, bringing in, the comic creators is a value, but it doesn't, it's not the total picture. People aren't paying $60 to go and meet Rob Liefeld, even though that's cool. They didn't buy a $60 ticket and then go buy an $80, sketch cover. Liefeld, they spent $60 to go and see some cosplay, to go and walk through the dealer room, then to go and maybe get a glimpse of Rob Liefeld. So what's the shows that are focused on the overall fandom and the weekend long event and the weekend long party, those are the shows that are going to, those that are looking for a quick buck, hopefully they'll go out of business soon so that we can stay, get back to business and start making
that's actually in part why I wanted to do this, because I was just talking to John and he said that Heroes and Villains had canceled 2 of their shows that he had planned on attending. John.
Yep.
I didn't hear that. That's good though.
And Portland. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and they're one of my friends I was going to do that show with just texted me and let me know that he just got an email saying that Portland Walker Stalker just canceled, so that's not a thing in January anymore. And then he said that I think Phoenix or another, I think Phoenix it was.
I think he said Phoenix.
Walker Stalker. Yeah,
oh, wow.
Both
People
canceled.
were telling me about that. People were telling me that show was going to affect my show, and I didn't see the correlation, but we're 6 hours.
So Portland, for example, Portland's not big of a city. Like it's a big town. I think it's not like a Seattle. It's not like LA. It's not, but we have 3 main shows that we do here. We got Walker Stalker at the beginning of the year. Then there's a Wizard show usually around April. And then the big good show is Rose City out in September. And year over year, like last year, Walker Stalker was actually better than the year before that for me. And then the same with Wizard. But it doesn't really make a ton of sense to have 3 shows for the population, the attendance, and the, how the shows do, at least like from my perspective. Even Rose City is a good sized show, but it's, nothing compared to Emerald City or, any of the bigger shows that I travel to. So I don't know. I guess I don't, it kind of sucks that I was going to do that show and it's nice to do local shows, but on the same token, I'd rather have the other 2 shows be bigger because of one less show, I guess. If that makes any sense.
Where I just came from. That was the magic thing I did was in Portland about a week ago.
Nice. They're big on that over here, huh?
The second best tournament of the year. It was really good.
Wow.
Kind of irrelevant to this conversation, but I just thought I'd throw that out.
No, it's different markets are, bigger on different things too. And if
anyone wants to see cosplayers, just come to my table at San Diego because they're always blocking my table, so you can see all of them.
Oh, Ken, I freaking forgot to re-up my table.
What?
I forgot to re-up my table for San Diego.
You mean like right after the show was over? That?
Like they gave it away, and I messaged them, and I'm like, help.
Oh, man.
Jim.
But you can always use your daughter's table.
Well, I could probably hit up Clydeen and get an Artist Alley table, but that's... Jim, say something. I muted you, but then I think I was trying to unmute you, and it's not unmuting. Say test 1, 2, 3. No, dang it, it's not unmuting. What the heck?
Let's see here. How's that?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got home and my dogs were going crazy, and yeah, so
they missed you.
I rushed out to my office here, and all of my brides. I always I bring in super cool artists and say all I want is a sketch.
Nice.
So we actually add Magic tournaments to our event. Anything that we can do to drive numbers. The problem with bringing in Magic folks is they don't actually care about the con world. So I have to set the Magic tournament outside the doors in another hall in the convention area so that they don't have to buy a ticket. But once they're there, we can usually entice them to come in with a couple of chainmail bikinis, and so it works out all right.
Yeah, because there aren't that many naked girls, so you might as well.
Those are the girls blocking Ken's booth, right?
Right.
We've actually had to go to a system of we no longer invite cosplayers as guests anymore. We don't feature them. We'll bring them in for programming. We still do the cosplay contest. But what was happening is we would bring in a cosplayer, give them a free table. Some of them we would even give like a hotel room to. But when they would show up as guests, they got really we would get belligerent hate mail from their competitors, or they would show up entitled and start yelling and not like the placement of their free booth. And it got us to the point where we're like, you guys aren't what we're trying to promote our local cosplay. We're trying to promote the groups of cosplayers. And I always get myself into trouble. I had an issue a couple of years back with some boob models, Ford and all those car dealerships, they'll hire like models and then put them in a Batwoman costume and then fly them out to shows as if they were cosplayers. And I got into a bind. I'm like, no, I'm not a player to come out here and show off her boobs. And I got all kinds of heat that I hated boobs. And let's just be honest, I don't hate boobs. And I'm like, no,
big fan.
I don't pay boob models. Like I don't go to strip clubs. I just don't. And I'm like, I'm trying to promote local cosplayers, but anyway, I got hate mail from Australia, New York, and the social justice warriors came after me. I got like 1 million interactions on that post, and I made that what the heck is that that Comic-Con website, that the news website, comics something. What is it called? Anyway, I made that a couple of times with how vile I am, and my shows are going to end.
Bleeding Cool?
What the heck was it? Bleeding Cool a few times as the worst promoter in the just because I don't pay cosplay.
Bleeding Cool is the worst internet. Worst.
Yeah,
worst.
it was interesting. But
really, it sounds to me almost like whoever was giving you crap. From what I just heard from you just now, what I heard was here's a guy who says, if I'm going to have cosplayers, I'm going to have the real cosplayers and not just models showing up to show off their figures, which to me would have made the cosplay community and all that be on your side. Not
you would think, but they eat their young. So it's and I got a lot of support. I had a lot of I actually became really good friends with Claire, who messaged me, and she's like, thank you for protecting the art. Thank you for, a part of the solution to the exploitation of the industry and that kind of thing. So she's been coming back year after year doing my cosplay contests. And so then I get other cosplayers, who are more internet famous, who've said, why are you bringing her in? Why don't you bring me in? And it got so ugly. I'm like, I would rather just have local people put on costumes and show up. I care about my local community more than I care about this international circle of cosplayers who hate on each other all the time. It's sad. I mean, I care about the art, and that's, I think that should be a part of it. And I'll probably get heat over this too. Look out, Bleeding Cool.
Well, this is an interesting question to ask. I'm gonna ask Ken, because Ken leans hard left. I wouldn't call him an SJW. I wouldn't call him an SJW, but he does swing hard left. So, Ken, where do you see this industry going? Will SJWs win or will we win? What's the end game?
Boy, that's a setup if I ever heard. Well, you know, I'm probably not the best person to ask because number one, whereas before, I'd like to say 10 years ago, I would buy a bunch of comics every Tuesday like everyone else. But mainly due to budget, I haven't really been able to read regularly for a while. Like a lot of people, maybe I wait for the trade paperback to come out, and that's what I get. And it's because I really like the artist, I really like the writer or the property or whatever. So I'm not really enmeshed in the comic world like you are, Mike, and probably like you got other guys are because you're running these conventions. So you see a lot of this stuff a lot more deeply with a lot more detail than I do. I see it all from the outside, and I hear all the Comicsgate stuff. I hear all the SJW stuff, but I don't see it on a daily basis. I don't see it from the inside, so I probably don't have the most informed opinion on that. I mean, I've been friends with Mike for like 25 years, something like that.
Yeah, 25 years.
I look at Mike. I mean, we disagree on almost everything, but I really think of him like a brother, and I tell people that will get on my shit about knowing Mike and people, like him, but I just try and look past all that political stuff and just, go on my personal interactions with the person. Not everybody can do that because they don't know Mike. They just know what they hear, or they don't know anyone on the left. They just know what they hear. It's just like I think politics in general now. You just go on what you hear from someone. You don't know the person. Personally, you don't know their views really that well, so you just go what you hear, what you read. So I don't know.
Hey, Ken, do you think social media might have something to do with the division and that creating the divide where it's like, and I'm socially liberal. Most of my friends are liberal because they actually, they walk the walk. The problem is they don't understand how government, we have a divide there, but they live their lives as good human beings. And most of the people that are on my side on social media, I wish they weren't on my side vocally because it really becomes a divisive situation. Do you feel like in your interactions through the industry that I mean, and coming from the more social side, socialist, that's almost a derogatory term these days. But you coming from a socially driven person, do you feel like social media has created a divide that is going to affect the industry as a whole?
Well, yeah, probably like anyone thinks social media in general is really, really good and really, really sucks, at the same time. It just depends on probably what you're saying at any given time or what you're reading at any given time. And just the total pervasiveness of social media is doing a lot of good and a lot of bad. So, yeah, you're right. I think it is making it worse in that regard because people that talk the loudest are the ones that are getting all the attention on the left and the right. And so they cause problems for their own side and for the other side. So it just totally screws everything up.
Like I was told, I posted how excited I was for the movie Bohemian Rhapsody about 6 months ago when the first trailer came out. And I was blasted by all my conservative friends about how, how it was going to be a horrible film and that, it's going to be promoting all kinds of terrible stuff. But, and then all my liberal friends were like, oh, they're trying to hide his homosexuality and things like that. And I'm like, I really just want to watch a really great movie. And I almost didn't go see it. I almost didn't go watch the movie, and then I went and saw it, and I was pissed at everyone. I'm like, you guys can all go down. I was mad. Like, it was a great movie, and now people are, oh, the timeline wasn't right. But I feel like social media did that movie no favors whatsoever, with the exception of the first trailer I saw that I wanted to watch the movie.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was out. I don't see movies as often as I'd like, but I really still want to see that one.
Yeah, it was really good, and I agree with you. I think people said too much too early, too cluelessly, and affected both sides and want to see the movie for different reasons. There are going to be Queen fans that maybe never even knew Freddie Mercury was gay, you know, and probably maybe didn't care because they liked the music that much. And there are going to be people on the left who champion his gayness, you know, and who doesn't have enough are going to be pissed off. You know, people are going to be pissed off no matter what.
People want to be offended, and then people want to make hay about being offended so that they can get more likes on their social media. Right, John?
That's right. That kind of reminds me of Venom. When the first snap of Venom that came out, everybody was like, "Oh, this is gonna be the worst ever." And then 5 minutes later, the actual trailer came out, and everybody's like, "Whoa, that's gonna be really good." I still haven't seen the movie, but it looked like it would be really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either. My IHOP waiter told me I had to go see it, and I'm like, my IHOP waiter is more involved than I am. No,
in your head, Mike.
Look, see, now you're social mediaing that movie to death.
No, that movie. I really wanted to like it.
As a comic book fan,
Tom Hardy's
I'll hate
How
it.
can you get better than having
Tom Hardy's in it. I love Tom Hardy.
Shit, that's why I was so disappointed. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it, but when I heard it was so bad, I thought, darn, I really like Tom Hardy.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was. If you turn your brain off and ignore a lot of it, it's, you know, it's a popcorn film. You know.
So you're saying it's just like Green Lantern?
I couldn't even like that when I turned my brain off, man.
That
I needed to like that movie.
That
You know
movie
what?
was
I
great
still-
on mute.
I still like Green Lantern better than Batman versus Superman.
Okay, I'm there. I feel that. I feel that.
Some of those movies are really great on mute when your only expectation is that there's special effects in action.
Yeah, something's gonna blow up.
Yeah, that's all I ever wanted out of those movies, and I got it.
Hey, if anybody in the chat has a question for these guys or about conventions or how they work or how they're working, just let me know. Hit me up and just at me in the chat.
I want to make a quick point, Mike, if I can.
Yeah.
When I go to these Magic tournaments, the way they usually work is the people who run the shows bring the artists in, and you get like 3 tables. They're free. Some of the people run the tournament pay for your airfare or hotel, not as often anymore, but still they did it for a while. And there are still a few artists that have complained and are complaining about not getting this and that. But I always tell them, I came from doing comic conventions, and you don't get jack when you go to a comic convention for free. Although, you know, Artist Alley in San Diego has remained free, and I'm really glad of that. But in general, you know, as an artist, you're going to pay for tables, and you're not going to have a lot of space. No one's going to cover your booth, et cetera, et cetera. So I was just telling these guys and girls that you should be really thankful for what we're getting at these tournaments. Because if you went to comic conventions all this time, you know how great we have it compared to like the 4-foot space I get in San Diego.
Yeah, Jim treats his artists horribly too.
Well, and you have a captive audience too, right?
Just
the
kidding.
Magic tournaments, you get a captive audience for your fan.
Yeah, to some degree, yeah, because unlike my point earlier, where a lot of people come just to get a Dr. Doom print, not caring who did it, people come to these tournaments. Number one, of course, are there to play, but when they're there, a certain percentage of them are definitely interested in the artist and definitely go to artist A instead of artist C because they know his or her work. They're going to buy stuff from them. So yeah, to that degree, there's a captive audience. The audience is usually a lot smaller in numbers, but more people come to you of those numbers.
All right, and speaking of a captive audience, I have about 80 viewers in here now, so I need to do a quick reintroduction of everyone. On the, how does it look on actual?
I'm on the far right.
On the far left, yeah, you're looking at Google thing. On the far left is Ken Meyer Jr. He is a watercolor artist that was in my studio, not my studio, our studio.
Oh, it was
back.
your studio, Mike.
a quarter century ago. And he does conventions. He does Magic the Gathering tournaments, more so. Do you have anything you're working on right now, Ken?
Well, I'm just like most freelance illustrators. I always have a whole bunch of crap going on at once. I've got magic stuff. I've got some educational illustrations, and I've got commissions. You know, so I don't want to dominate the conversation, but yeah, I've got a lot going on.
All right, and in the middle there is John Winter. He is my art rep. I send to shows if I'm double booked or I just don't want to go all the way to someplace. I'll send him.
I like going places. I do.
He
as many
loves it.
shows.
I hate traveling, and so John, and honestly, I hate cons. I don't mind being behind. I hate setting up. The only thing I like about conventions is interacting with fans. Right? It's fun. Well, I'm taking their money. That's also fun. But the interaction with the fans is like the best part. But I get to do that here every single day. There's 80 people watching me right now. I can interact with every single one of them through the chat anytime they want. And Comic-Cons, they're so much work. And John loves it. So
Love it. I'll do them all day, every day. Get me out of here.
And the man with the beard, as described before, is Jim Burleson. He runs 3 separate Comic-Cons in the Albuquerque area. Jim?
Yeah, that's right. So Santa Fe Comic-Con, Albuquerque Comic-Con, and Comic-Con. So Albuquerque started in 2011. And so we've been doing it ever since.
Right on. So that is the update on who's here. Let's see. Liam for $5 says, I won't name names, but I've heard from other Magic artists that Wizards of the Coast is very strict with the female form. Confirm or deny? Ken, that's for you.
Well, to some degree, I can't confirm or deny because I haven't done any new Magic work for a bunch of years, even though I interact with all the players at these tournaments and stuff like that, and I have a lot of artist friends who continue to do work for Magic. I think there was somewhat of a direction over the last 10 years to just, not be as revealing and not be as sexualized. So you have fantasy figures, but you just don't sexualize them as much as maybe they were done in the past, and maybe even not on purpose. It's just however artists thought whatever they thought would look cool. So there's been a little bit of that, as far as I know, secondhand.
All right, and Smotlock just says, I just read Tales to Astonish that was painted by a guy with a last name Meyer, written by Peter David. Was that you?
No, I don't think so. I haven't done any new comic painting work for a while. It's been a bunch.
Have you worked? Oh, this might be older. Have you worked with Peter David before?
Not that I remember. What was the character?
Tales to Astonish.
Tales to Astonish. Jeez. I don't think so. My memory is really crappy. But most of the really like big company stuff have been one pinup for Marvel, a couple small painted stories in some anthology series, and some help. I help people do a few things here and there. So I don't think that was me. That must have been another Meyer.
Headrock says, oh, wow, Ken Meyer, I still have some of your cards.
That's funny.
Then he says, Arabian Nights for the win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's when the last work I did for them was like 1990. Well, when I started working for them was in 93, and there was about a 5-year period when I was doing work for them. But their tastes changed over the years. They got bigger and bigger. They could afford anybody. So a lot of us earlier artists were sort of left behind.
But didn't they stop paying them though? Like the early artists got rich because they didn't realize the success of Magic, right? And then
that's what I was about to say.
They started.
Well, some people, yeah, there are a few people who did some of the earlier pieces that were either really, really popular or really, really rare. And some of those artists, because in the beginning, when Magic was really small, they paid you half in cash and half in shares in the company. So it's the latter that I think helped make a few people really well off. You know, I've always heard that some people bought houses off their royalties and all that kind of stuff. And they also paid royalties on top of that.
And then did they not go to like $1,000 flat fee or something like that?
Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah.
I'd like to do some of those.
Yeah, me too.
Let's see.
I'm just resting on my laurels.
Sorry. You guys didn't answer my question. Where do you see the industry going? What are your strategies to combat political extremism in all forms of entertainment?
I'm just wearing a yellow vest everywhere I go.
I like to say, why do you even have to battle it? Why can't you just let it be, and everybody can get a little of what they want? You know, there's nothing wrong with doing a comic for the far right or doing a comic for the far left, and then doing comics in the middle. Everyone should be able to, have a voice, right?
Yeah. The general complaint, though, Ken, is that they're taking comics and characters that have a legacy that you're supposed to respect, and they're using them as political platforms, and they're driving readers away.
Every redhead is now a black man. And every successful, strong male character is now a female. It's become problematic in the sense that if they want to create that character, why don't they create that character? Why are they going to go out there and destroy Lin Wein's legacy? Why are they going to destroy Jim Lee's legacy and Stan Lee's legacy? There's so many people that have created iconic characters for us, and now the social justice movement is basically saying you guys are all no longer relevant. Let me change the rules on you.
Well, in to put a fine point on it, you had a decade of the single greatest media blitz for these intellectual properties in the history of comics, right? You had Thor. This is I'm just talking about the Avengers and even, well, not so much Spider-Man, but look at the Avengers, right? Thor, woman. Hulk, Korean. Captain America became, who would Captain America become?
Falcon. He's
Falcon. Who's the other one? Well, Hawkeye.
Iron Man.
Idiot. Iron Man became a 15-year-old psychotic black girl. So you have and I've heard this from retailers, right? You'd have kids coming in fresh out of these huge blockbuster movies saying, I want an Iron Man book, or I want a Thor book. And they go to the shelf, and that's not who they just saw on the big screen. You've got a $200 million commercial to sell your thing, and then nobody can go in and purchase what they just saw because the characters have been replaced by other than Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, frickin' Thor Odinson, or and it's just social justice aside, that is the biggest freaking marketing idiocy possible.
Yeah, but don't you think that those movies are essentially sort of, if you look at it in context or comparing with the comic industry the way it is, don't you think that they're basically somewhat in the past because they're covering things that already happened, right?
Because the last time there was any good writing was in the 80s, Ken. There have been no good stories since the 80s.
So none of that stuff you did was any good?
Nope.
That's why Mike doesn't write.
I do write. No, dude, that's an argument I've been making for 25 years. the cookie cutter mentality of Marvel and DC. It's like it's not here. I have an inspired story. Let's produce this comic. It's we've got to get this book out month after month after month. Who's available? Who's got time? Blah blah blah. Dude, I've had books I've had to work on that the deadline was so jacked up. I had to do 11 pages in 2 days, and I finished it, and it was on the stands 2 weeks later. And this is not the mentality by which, and again, I've been doing this for 26 years. This is not how you produce great inspired works. When Jim Shooter hired freaking, John Byrne to do X-Men, Walt Simonson to do Thor, he hired these great guys who had great skill and great talent, and he told them to do great work, and they were inspired to do this great work. It wasn't like, and yeah, he paid him crap, but that's another issue. It's that's why the 80s were so great, because you had this mentality of, if somebody ran out of ideas, you don't just keep them on a book, or you don't just fill up the well, first of all, you had one X-Men book, so you weren't trying to run. I don't know where I'm going with this.
And they weren't all number ones. There were no foil covers.
Yeah.
There were no poly bags with a trading card in them.
Constant crossovers, right? It was just gimmick after gimmick after gimmick. It's like, Secret Wars was a huge success. Let's make sure we do nothing but crossovers for the next 20 years. That's not helpful, and yeah, I'm not opposed to alternate covers, but when you're doing, 18 alternate covers for something, you're like, come on. You're just soaking the same people for the same stuff. But my point was just the cookie cutter mentality of the entire of the big two at the very least. It's great when you have you have someone like Kurt Busiek will approach and say, hey, I have an idea for a maxi series, and they come out with something like Avengers Forever, which they can take their sweet time on and do it separately from the that cookie that the factory settings on the regular books. But yeah, so I'm almost not even kidding when I say, yeah, all my books have sucked.
No, Mike, so then you're saying it seems that this change that is not liked by a lot of people is not driven by social agendas so much as it's driven by just people wanting to get work out and get books out as fast as humanly possible.
Well, they can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Huh?
I said they can walk and chew gum at the same time. And you know what? It's not to say that any of the individual stories might have been good stories. Which one? But it's just the fact that you've got this, this marketing campaign that is literally costing hundreds of millions of dollars, making billions of dollars, and you have this opportunity to grow the comic book industry because of our absolute takeover of pop culture in other medias, and the industry is instead shrinking.
Let me use Black Panther as an example. That was a well-written, well-shot, brilliantly acted, amazing film, and its success was driven at least 90% by equality and nothing to do with any social justice movement, period. Now, the dilemma that we're going to face is when they try to recreate that using a cookie-cutter platform, they're going to create pieces of crap that they're going to throw on the screen, they're going to do terrible, and they're going to blame racism. And what they're going to miss is that they did not follow the creative pattern of the success of Black Panther. They followed the social justice, simple-minded, let me create a headline, and they're gonna make a really horrible, Black Flyer comic book movie, and it's gonna be horrible, and everyone's gonna be pissed, and it's gonna divide the nation and our industry, and we're gonna have problems because they fail to see the value in the creator-driven emotional aspect of putting together our entertainment.
But that's just Hollywood. They do that with everything.
Same thing's going on in comic books, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what'll happen is the next Black movie is going to come out and it's going to be horrible because of this. And we're going to lose 20% of our fans again who only showed up because Black Panther was so good and they bought into our industry.
I'm just worried because remember the last time around we had the comic book movie boom. It only took one movie to kill the whole movement, and that was Batman and Robin. When Batman and Robin came out, no, you laugh, but think back on it. I remember
nipples, nipples. You cannot show nipples just like all.
It killed the entire movement. We didn't have another movie until Spider-Man came out, right?
But that's a movie thing, though. So if you'll notice in the movie industry, there's a good Western every 5 years. A good Western every 5 years. And what happens is there's 9 terrible Westerns the following year, and then there's no Westerns for 3 years. So that's how the industry works. Because when Hollywood puts their money behind something, they never want to hit a home run. They always are just trying to get singles, okay? And I'm a movie producer. That's my real job. Like, I work in the movies. I make movies. And so when I'm trying to sell projects, I have to go in there and hope that I am just on the cusp. Like, I had a film where we had Taylor Kitsch attached, and he was at the height of the industry right during the Tribeca Film Festival, and I guess 2 months later they all said, yeah, nobody's talking about him anymore. We're pulling the plug, and it was an actor driven film, but Hollywood is a different animal though. It's based completely on pre-sales and foreign sales. It has nothing to do with entertainment. It has nothing to do with. That's why actors are so driven by independence, is because they hope that they'll at least still have some creative aspect to it. The problem is we just never see those movies. Why Netflix is doing so well.
That was actually my point about like what you're saying they're going to do with Black Panthers. Hollywood is always learning the wrong lessons about what made a movie successful, and then they glean all the wrong information, and then they squirt out just crap and kill the genre. And I'm just afraid one of these movies or a couple of these, I think the superhero genre is strong, but like I said, I don't know if can we not kill our please? Thank you. I need to let it go. So, apparently, I have to cook dinner.
That
what?
That back there, or just the sister who looks just like Eden?
Eden. I don't have any sisters. She doesn't have any sisters.
I didn't know.
It's Ken. You remember Ken from Comic-Con, San Diego?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember. Hi, liar.
So what does she need?
You light up the grill.
Why can't Elijah light up the grill?
He's in combat.
Because it's
a freaking lighter, and you turn the grill on.
Okay, well,
That's always me.
It blows up. It's your fault.
What a horrible father you are.
I'm not the only one allowed to use a lighter in the house.
Well, you're going to regret that in about 10 minutes.
This podcast is going to have a fiery ending.
I'm trying to see if there's any good questions.
Well, I'm just doing your dishes.
Oh my gosh. Go light the grill.
That was such a perfect teenage expression. What?
It's not rocket science. You could have lit it while you were standing here waiting. This is my stream. My stream is always like this.
All right, well, I got to go decorate cookies. I'm getting text messages left and right here. So,
all right, I get the feeling I gotta go cook something. Anyways, Jim, why don't you? Did you have a question?
I just want to know if anybody had questions.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to look through real quick. Nah, Black Panther movie was boring. CG fest. One Punch Man will demolish all of the Marvel and DC. One Punch Man is the strongest superhero.
Oh,
Aquaman saved DC. Oh, how do you think Aquaman's going to do? I mean,
apparently it's getting rave reviews, and they're saying it's better than all Marvel movies. But you know what? You always feel that way when you walk out of the movie theater. That was the best movie ever. And then
not
like,
after Batman
wait a
vs
minute, I
Superman.
don't want to watch it again. Yeah.
It's doing gangbusters around the world, and it has not been released here yet.
Good for them. You know what? Jason Momoa is the nicest man in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He deserves every bit of his success.
Love that guy.
Matter of fact, watch his show on Netflix, Frontier. So good, Frontier.
Oh, another one. He's had a couple.
Yeah,
Sure.
so Frontier is really good. They just released season 3. So anyway, Comic-Con. Make sure that everybody goes and supports it, and don't go to new Comic-Cons because they're gonna suck.
Jim, do you have any social media you want anyone to follow you on?
AlbuquerqueComicCon.com. If you go to Facebook, it's Albuquerque Comic Con. ABQ ComCon at Twitter. I'd mostly do Facebook though. It's not as smart as the rest of that stuff. So, but I do it all myself. So if you message bad things, I'm the only one that reads them. Well, I got this one Vato that does it too, though. So don't say anything really bad or racist because he'll come to your house and probably do something horrible. He's like the guy from American Me, you know, like that's him. He monitors my stuff for me, but I answer everybody. I'm the one who responds.
All right, John.
I'm really looking forward to this year. It's last year was I'm looking forward to 2019. 2018 wasn't spectacular, but I'm really looking forward to 2019. I think there'll be some good changes. I think it might still be a little bit wavy, but I'm hoping some new movies. Game of Thrones is coming out this year. Second Avengers. Got Captain Marvel. Got the Aquaman. There's a lot of good stuff on the horizon. So I'm hoping for the best. I'm really optimistic. So go team.
God. Social media.
So my Instagram is RocketJohn82. And I'm on John JAWN Winter if you want to find me on Facebook. Most of my socials is just promoting the heck out of Mike's stuff when I do shows for him, because he's got some really rad booths I set up for him, and wacky adventures of Mini-Me.
Hey Ken, Dave Dorman just got back to me and said, "Just got home. What's up?" Yeah, we were gonna try to get Dorman on here for this, but he's late. Ken Meyer Jr., you got any social media you want people to follow you on?
Well, I'm pretty easy to find, pretty boring. It's always usually just my name, Ken Meyer Jr., KenMeyerJr. You can Twitter. I'm on Facebook, obviously. I have a website. You know, I'm everywhere. Omnipresent, like the Watcher.
All right, and I am obviously Mike Miller. Please like and subscribe. There are it says 90 viewers, but on this it says 80, so I don't know what to believe. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. TheMegComic.com. I still have the Indiegogo going. LoneStarComic.com. I am about to proofread and finalize and send to the printer the file. So that'll be ending soon. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Yes, that was an action figure of Dr. Mindbender, who John thinks he looks just like. So he takes that around to different places in the world and takes pictures of it.
He's my traveling buddy.
Enjoy his Instagram. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thanks, everyone in the chat for stopping by. We will see you later. Aloha.